Welcome to another Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. I am Benjamin, and tonight I'm going to share with you something that relates to another hobby of mine. I am a master gardener, and some of you may already know that. So I've always enjoyed notes that have an agricultural theme or depict fruits and vegetables and such. And tonight I'm going to share with you banknotes that actually share or exhibit terraces. Now, terracing is an agricultural feature that has been used for thousands of years in different regions around the world, from Asia to Africa, the Mediterranean, even South America. I was surprised to see that there's even evidence of terracing in regions of the UK. So it's by no means nothing new. You even see it here in the state of Oklahoma, but you usually see it here as part of landscaping and to form retaining walls on like hills and ledges to have plantings of not necessarily crops that we consume, but flowers and eye-catching shrubberies that will draw your attention. Nevertheless, it's very exciting, and I have a variety of terraces I want to share with you on banknotes tonight. And I'm going to share a couple of notes at the end that may or may not be terraces. I'm going to let you guys help me out in the comments if you would be so kind. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to first of all thank Wikipedia for some of my information. And I want to thank the Banknote book, and I want to thank Krause Publications for certain descriptors and catalog numbers that you'll find after I process the video, so that if you want to start purchasing some banknotes with the terracing thing, you will be able to do so. Terraces are considered actually land that has a slope plane cut into a series of platforms or steps. These graduated terraces are commonly used on hilly and mountainous terrain. Oh, the note I should show you is one from Peru that has Machu Picchu, and I believe there's some nice terraces on that one. Terraces are valuable because they can positively impact erosion and surface runoff. So you will sometimes see terracing for water crops like rice, but you'll also see dry terracing for like vineyards and olive trees. In fact, I was surprised to discover that in spite of the fact that nobody exactly knows what the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were like, there is some strong suggestions that they could have been terraces, either in a building that was graduated larger at the bottom and smaller with each succeeding level, kind of like one of their ziggurats. But let's go ahead and let's begin. The very first note I want to share with you is 1,000 peso from the Philippines. And this is a beautiful view of the terraces in a UNESCO World Heritage Site called the Banawa region, in the Banawa Terraces. Lovely, lovely note. And later on, I'll show you another Philippine note that has a similar design from the same region, just a little bit different view. This is actually the front of that 1,000 peso note. And the next note I want to share with you is a Pakistani note. This is a 5 rupees, and you can very clearly see in the foreground some lovely terraces, and then in the background you can see the beautiful terraces going right up the hillside. Very nice. This is one of my lovely older notes of Pakistan. The third note is actually from the nation of Uganda, and here's the back of that note, and it shows like a ferry. But it's when you look at the front of the note that you can see to the left, you can see the terraces, and maybe in the hill you see the terraces right over here, and there's some here. And then this whole mountain back here looks like it's terraced as well. In fact, the note describes this as the Lake Bunyan and terraces. So not only that, we have some coffee leaves and everything over there. So this might be an example of dry terracing, and maybe there's a coffee theme there. My videos that are focused on a single banknote would have so much more detail. From Madagascar, I have a 2000 Ariary. And I may not be saying that right, but forgive me. I don't have anybody I know from Madagascar that is helpful in my pronunciation. But on the face of these notes, we have those lovely trees that look like they're stuck in the ground upside down and their roots are flying skyward. What do they call those? Baobab trees, maybe? But here on the back is one of the most beautiful terracing banknotes. See those lovely terraces there? I think this is one of the rare circumstances where man's imposition on nature actually is probably an improvement on what has been there before. And this next note from Yemen is no slouch either. This is a 20 reals from Yemen. I'm not too clear what the statue is on the left side of this note, but here's why I got this note. I got this note for the lovely views on the back. We have desert landscape in the far background, and we have rugged landscapes here in the midground, and here in the foreground we have some lovely terraces here. And I would imagine these terraces can be dry land, but I suspect that they also are designed to retain rare water that shows up from time to time in this nation. Up next is a 500 baht from Thailand depicting their recently deceased king. And if any Thai restaurant in Oklahoma or the USA is to be considered, he was the last king of Thailand. I have not yet seen any images of the new king in any of the Thai supermarkets or the numerous Thai restaurants that I have visited. He was a well-loved king, and part of it, the reason he was well-loved can be seen on the back because he was very involved with his people. I assume the king is lecturing in this scene right over here. In this scene, he's watering crops. In this scene, he's doing something harvest-wise. And here in the front, he's actually visiting these provinces that require dams. He was a dam king in the sense that many, many dams were built in his nation over the course of his kingship. And here in the background behind His Majesty, you can see lovely terraces there. A well-loved king, very popular with his people. Oh, and like I promised, here's the next Philippine banknote. This time it's a 20 peso. And on the back of this note, we have another view of the bananas, the Banawa rice terraces, and you can see that they even honor it with the title UNESCO World Heritage. Now, these terraces seem to have predated what was considered to be the native peoples of the Philippines, and they are a popular destination. In fact, they are so popular that most of the people that farm these terraces no longer farm them. They just maintain them for the tourist. Apparently, they're very hard to maintain, and because they are earthworks rather than stoneworks, like in some terracing, they yearly have to maintain these. So some of these terraces are actually eroding and are in danger of disappearing entirely because the culture no longer requires their yearly use, so it's no longer as important to maintain these terraces. A bit sad, but this is definitely on my bucket list to go and see the terraces of Banawe. Another 100 reals from Yemen. This time on the front we have the lovely dragon tree. And if you turn it to the back, we have, I'm sure different terraces, but beautiful terraces nonetheless. I don't know, my heart kind of expands and beats at the same time when I see the beauty of these particular landscapes. I feel like if I went there and somebody gave me a farm, I could happily live there and garden for the rest of my life. The next note I'm showing you is another banknote from Madagascar. This is from their most recent families of banknotes, and it is a 20,000 Ariary or Ariary. And I have to be honest with you, as far as beauty in a banknote, this last series of notes from Madagascar captures none of it, if you ask me. It's absolutely ghastly in its design. I don't see a link or a commonality or a rhyme or a reason. We have a turtle here. We have birds flying here. Over here, it looks like we have a butterfly. There is some sort of petroleum industry going on here. Weird ribbons of somehow. Although I do like how this has that feature where if you angle the note, the little circle moves around. So, I mean, it is key, and it does have some modern features, but it is just, in my mind, it is just a ghastly series. And you're like, okay, Swaggerty, where are the terraces? I'm seeing a lot of noise and rigmarole, but I am not seeing terraces. Well, take a look here. You got some flowers, you got some grains. It looks like you got some fruit there. There's that butterfly off register, but if you look over here, here's a background image that is smaller than the fruits and flowers in the foreground. I do not know why they didn't make this particular vignette way bigger on the note so that we could appreciate the beautiful terracing effect that you can see in these fields. And I imagine this note has an agricultural theme because you have the fields and you have the crops that can be grown in those fields. The next note is one of my favorite notes, and it's from Indonesia. I'm rapidly approaching the point where I have every note, or at least one of every note that Indonesia's ever issued. And although this note has some flaws, there's some extra ink right here that I'm sure was added post-note, and there's a stain right there. When you turn this note over, it's absolutely beautiful. And this note will do for me until I'm able to buy a more pristine note. You have a beautiful image of the terraced fields of Indonesia. Which of the 1,000 islands does this depict? I don't know. I hope if I was to ever focus on a single banknote, and this happens to be one of them, that I would be able to find more information for you. The next two notes I want to share with you may or may not be terracing, and I'm more than happy to let you all help me figure that out. This first note is a 500 pounds from Syria. And on this side we see ruins, we see part of a theater down here. We see an arch ruins, which honestly may no longer exist since those terrorists who tried to set up a caliphate destroyed a bunch of these sites across Syria. So what we have on this note may be all that's left. When you turn this note over here, though, you have an agricultural theme. In the background, we have a dam. Looks like we have a cultivator and a waterer right here with a water ditch, and it looks like it's sucking up water to sprinkle it over the fields. And this may be a terrace. This may be a terrace hillside because you can see the rows of trees, and you can see them planted in straight lines, and there seems to be paths in between them. And this may be a terracing situation. And of course, what supports that is all these fruits and some vegetables that you see over here. You see some corn, looks like some sunflowers, pomegranates, and grapes. Lots of things that are important if you are an agrarian economy. So what do you think? Is that a terrace note? And since terracing usually implies an agricultural feature, does this banknote of Chile actually qualify as a terrace banknote? This banknote celebrates the nationalization of their coal, and so you see a miner on the front. In some ways, there's the complete aesthetic of Yugoslavia, and it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't a common designer or workers from the former Soviet parts of Europe that had something to do with this design. It just is very Yugoslavian-esque to me. Maybe completely wrong, but I may be right. Who knows? So here we have a mine, an open pit mine, and it does, by definition, look like terracing, but we know that these terraces facilitated ore trucks hauling ore by the ton up these repeated levels up to the surface level where they could process the ore. Is this really a terrace as far as Maybe not as far as agriculture is concerned, but it looks to me like in form and function, it is a terrace note. So there you go. These are just some of the notes that I have that are terraced, and they are just some of the banknotes that you can find that have terracing featured on them. If you collect banknotes that have an agricultural purpose, this is a banknote you would want to have. Are you kin with the landscaper? Ooh, there's something on this note. Are you kin with the landscaper? Are you kin with a gardener? Are you friends or family with a lawn mowing business? Most of the notes that I've shown you today cost less than $5 and are easily searchable on eBay for your collecting pleasure. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the comments on my channel, and like, share, and recommend my channel. Please enjoy the more than 140 videos that I have posted on the website so far, and let me know what you think. I am Benjamin. This is Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. Have a jewel of a day.